Hello, everyone, and welcome to Schilling Speaks. Really excited to have you here today. My name is Scott Schilling, and today my special guest is a great friend, a best-selling author, has lived through some things that you're going to want to learn about and how to get through them, and has an amazing book called Unshakeable Courage. Please welcome Kym Glass. Kym, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Scott. Great to be here.
So, you and I have been friends for a long time through networking in the Dallas area at the time, got to know each other. And that was in a day where we did networking a little bit differently than we do today.
Right.
But you are a networking queen. So share a little bit of your background and everything with our audience, if you would.
Oh, yeah. So, I love networking. I did the lemonade stand growing up. I did the door-to-door gift wrap sales. I did the March for Missions walkathons. And later on in my career, I started out as a dialing from the phone book, picking up the phone and calling people to sell tickets for underprivileged children to attend a local circus. And so through all of that exposure and just my love for people, later on, I went into the corporate world. I was in the telecom industry for over 20 years, and I became the go-to person to connect and meet with people at the local chamber of commerce, make those connections, and then bring those referrals back to our executive staff and build that relationship with them. And then as an entrepreneur, I started hosting networking events and just found a greater love for who are you? Who do I know that needs to know you? And how can I help you build your business? And so networking is just truly a part of who I am and has been who I've been all of my life. I can't remember a time where I wasn't talking with someone or trying to help someone. And so, to be able to help business development teams and millennials, we all have those certain fears and uncertainties about networking and what do we say and how do we say it and where do we go and where's that next lead. And so I love being the connection to help people in that networking realm as well.
That's awesome. Now, interestingly enough, when we met and we actually had known each other for quite some time, I never knew your story, though. And it's a pretty amazing and somewhat shocking story. So, would you share that with everybody?
Sure. So, yes, I didn't realize it for years how, I guess, well, I had been able to separate my work from things that were going on into the business world. And I think one of the reasons I was able to do that is I'm all about self-leadership. And so in my business world, I knew that it was on me to lead myself, lead my team, and be the absolute best that I could be and grow relationships. And so years later on, I figured out, oh my gosh, how was I able to do that? So yes, I was born and raised in a religious cult and escaped after 35 years to protect my daughter because I saw that same pattern of behavior started coming toward me and my daughter. And so for many, many years, I lost my own freedom. But I lost my parents. I was moved out of my home at the age of 17 by the cult leaders and their inner circle. And, our family was front and center on the local news. It actually went nationally in the early 80s. And so I was conditioned at a very young age that these people were in our best interest. And then over time, it just became a very difficult situation and very manipulative and, tore people away from their families, which was our love. And I began seeing a pattern of other generations. And, we sometimes have those little whispers or those little downloads that help direct us to our next higher place. And I had one of those moments on 9/11 while I was sitting there watching the TV thinking, oh my God, like life is too short to be this miserable. And if anything is going to change, I have to be the one to do that. I can't wait for these people to quit bullying and mentally and emotionally abusing me and the congregation. And so that was like my final wake up call, that if anything didn't change, then nothing was going to change. And my daughter would be the next generation. So sometimes we're pushed out from the comfort shore to be in a higher place to impact people. And when you talk about my book, I'll just share, I had the title for my book 15 years ago.
Okay.
But at that time, it was just my story. And I didn't want it just to be my story. I wanted to help people because of my story, because ultimately, I'm just the messenger of overcoming adversity, and how can I help people as a result for that. And then I launched my national book tour the end of 2019, and then, as you know, COVID hit in 2020 and everything went virtually. And just being out there, being able to help people break free from fear. I mean, that's truly what my mission and my passion is, whether it's in life or business.
So how are you using the book? Or you said you had the title of the book, and then, but you didn't want it to be just your story. So what are the additions that have been added to the book to really help others break through that fear or face reality or release toxic beliefs?
Right. We get into these patterns and these patterns of beliefs, and, they also center around ultimate, our values. And then as we get older or we gain insights, we start seeing, I call it kind of like the onion, where you start peeling back the layers of that onion. And so in my book, I share my story and the different pieces about that. But on the other side of it, I shared the roadmap that I use to not only leave that place physically, but to be free from it mentally, which is a lot of the battle, right? You've seen the
I'm
picture of the
sure.
horse tied to a plastic chair, and it's an invisible leash. And the horse doesn't realize it has that power within it. So on the other side of my story, I write about the promise, the 7 promises of courage. And that is the roadmap that I use to escape. So each of the letters of the word courage represents a stop along the journey of how I was able to get out of what I call the mental court of other people's beliefs, opinions, and control over my life. And so I do that through the 7 promises of courage. We have promises within courage to overcome any fear whatsoever that we're challenged with or face.
Well, I think that's absolutely awesome. Can we dig into that a little bit, and hopefully we can get through it in our time? And if we don't, they need to buy the book. So go ahead, and can we start taking from the C on down, and we'll see how long we can go. But would
Sure.
love to hear what the promises are.
Sure, I'll give you just a glimpse of each of those. So the C is confidence. Our confidence is the foundation that everything else is built upon. And so I knew I had to get my confidence. And in order to do that, I had to get really brave with myself. And that's the piece where you really face the reality of what's going on. You face the good, the bad, the ugly, and you make a decision that, no, this is not what I want for my life. And I am moving in a different direction. So C is for confidence. O is for ownership. It's everything that I was able to own in the corporate world, because I wasn't with those people and hearing that dialogue when I was at my work. So ownership is all about self-leadership. And when you truly open the door and get in the driver's seat of your life, you have the power to create wherever it is that you want to take your life or your business. And then once you have those two pieces together, the you is unstoppable. Instead of being in your mind about other people's opinions and what are they going to think and what's keeping you up at night and not able to function first thing in the morning, you're more in a flow because you're focused on what your passion and your mission is and how you truly help other people. So that's unstoppable. The R, I'm all about relationships. Who are you surrounding yourself with? Who is supporting you? Who can you help? And helping others first is so powerful because in helping other people, you ultimately help yourself. And so as you're lifting other people and helping them rise, you can't help but do that for yourself. And then the A is action. I'm all about action. What action are you taking today to move you from where you currently are to where you want to go? And so getting very clear about that and in your action is how you begin releasing those fears that, it doesn't matter how many years that you've had that dialogue going. If you get yourself into action and out of your head and into your heart with your mission and your passion, you're going to make things move in your favor. And then the G is gratitude. I remember sitting in the pew of that church when I was unable to have anything to do with my parents. And I remember praying that one day I would be able to see my parents in town and it would be okay. That one day I'd be able to have dinner with them and it would be okay. And that one day I would be able to tell them that I truly see what they saw and that I'm free with that and that our family is restored. And I had that happen, but it was all being thankful for where I was on the way to where I wanted to go. So gratitude and thankfulness. I mean, when I take a walk, it's in my head, it's in my heart, just the small things in life. Like, what did you wake up thankful for today? I'm thankful for my health. I'm thankful for my breath. I'm thankful that I have a voice now that's not oppressed by other people's opinions, and then I can help other people. G is for gratitude. And then once you have all of that going together, E, what are you empowered to do? Because you have roadmap yourself away from something that is taking you to a higher place and it sets your heart on fire. I am empowered to help people from my experiences, regardless of what they are, either in business or my personal life. And my mission is to help people break free from fear because I don't believe that people should live in fear. And, 84% of people hold on to an irrational fear that keeps them awake at night and unable to achieve their life and their business goals. And so I'm on a mission and I'm empowered to use my voice from what I've overcome to help people with that. So those are the 7 promises of courage and what they represent along my roadmap.
Absolutely awesome. I love that. I had never heard them. I read them, of course, but didn't hear it presented the way you just did. That's absolutely awesome. What a great way to take those 7 promises and put them into action. I really honor you for again being in that place of gratitude, even though you were still stuck in the situation, that you were grateful for the situation, even though it wasn't the best of situations. You were grateful for that, and that you knew that someday going forward, it would be different and better, and somewhere that you could make those reconciliations.
Yes. I had a wonderful moment letting my parents know that I was not only physically out of there, but I was mentally out of there, and just so appreciative that, sometimes we think we've lost something and it's in a blink of time, and yet we can regain that. And so that was a very impactful moment of sharing, like we're on the other side of that and have been on the other side of that for many years now. But that is sometimes we drive a stake and we hold on to that stake. And that was one of those huge impactful moments through everything that our family had been through. We were able to regain our family in wholeness again.
I can tell, obviously, it's tremendously meaningful by the emotion that's coming through and everything that you're saying there. I think it's also tremendously powerful to be able to share it, to be of service to other people that may be in a similar situation or a parallel situation, not exactly the same situation you were in. The other part that kind of fascinates me in a weird way is that you were caught in all this, and yet you still did things that like normal people do. Meaning you had a job, you went to work, you were all part of all that. It's very intriguing to me. What was that like to be on one side so somewhat captive, and on the other side free to be able to do your work and go about that?
Right. I often tell people when you're in the inside, in the middle of it, it's hard to explain. And when you're on the outside of it, it's really, really hard to understand, you know. And I think about, I know that you're a Bible person, and I think about, the children that roamed in the wilderness for 40 years. And I think, you know what? I got a little bit of edge on them. I was only 35 years. So, but what I learned along that journey is I had things very compartmentalized. Sometimes people have anxiety and then other things bump up to it. And we often talk about it being a shopping cart, those shopping carts where you can't unplug at the grocery store because they're all stuck together. And what I found through my journey is that my thought process was very different in that I was able to separate myself from that horrific environment. I had a 2-hour commute every day to work. I plugged into cassette tapes. I plugged into music. I plugged into fun. I plugged into my gratitude time so that when my feet hit the door at my office, I had dusted off everything in my personal life. And from that situation, and even the 2 and the 4 o'clock calls that these people would call to our house and wake us up to start that day with, like, I learned how to manage that mindset. We hear that talked about a lot, but I didn't know that I was doing that.
Right.
I just knew that I was plugging into things that helped me make it through the day and that uplifted me. And so when I hit the office, I was tuned in because I truly believe, I started out as a $10 an hour secretary in the industry. And through building relationships and saying yes and figuring it out on projects, I left that industry breaking the glass ceiling and making 6 figures. And, I attribute that to being able to lead myself, even in the midst of a terrible situation, and then just someone believing in me enough to give me the opportunities to grow and personal development. I've done personal development since I was 17, started working in a bank, and that became something that I was like, I can own that. Like, I can do this, and so those were things that I held on to. And I think, they propelled me because I want to be the best employee. I want to get along with people. I built interdepartmental relationships to where if I had a project going on, I could go to those people and get help from their perspective or their side of the business. And then later on, became an entrepreneur, and those same skill sets have helped me along that journey as a business owner as well. So it's really interesting in your journey how those things show up, and then they're with you from here on out.
So again, I know that you've had your book tour started and going fabulously well until we had some shelter in home and shelter in place and things like that happen. But you were on CBS in New York, and you were on some some major talk shows and a variety of different things. And I know that through that, your book was able to reach out and touch a number of people. And I know that you've gotten correspondence and things from those folks. Thanks and everything. Are there any particular stories that, just really stand out to you on the effect of the book and your story?
Years ago, I would have thought, nobody can relate to what I'm going through. So is my story really relevant, or would it really help people? Or do I want to get out there and really open up this can of worms and let people know what I've been through? It's not a real comfortable thing when you realize, oh my God, look what I've been through. People are going to think I'm crazy, or like, how on earth did this happen? And I think on the other side of that, what I found to be really, really amazing is not only the ones and the twos people, but 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity to speak to a group of rocket scientists, engineer.
Wow.
And they wanted me to speak. Well, I didn't know that they had done all of this kind of due diligence, but they had sent my Amazon book, which gave a little bit of a glimpse of what I had been through. And they're like, no, we need this person for our leadership team. And the afternoon that was over, so I spoke to about 50 engineers. So you think about, okay, I worked with engineers,
Yeah.
but I would have never connected that. Yeah, I could connect it for entrepreneurs. I could connect it for business owners. I could connect it, but it was just like out of the blue, this connection happened because someone saw me on Facebook and referred me to this group. And the testimonial that I got from that just was so shocking. This one engineer wrote me back and he said, that's the best hour of this year for me.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my gosh.
Very powerful.
Wow. So out of, when you put all those holdbacks and once you get it out there, it's going. And wherever it goes, great, wherever that impact is. But when you speak and you share and you give people hope to overcome fear, I would say that's probably the most shocking testimonial, just because of the setting of that and who they were and how it resonated for someone that had absolutely no frame of reference for what I had been through, but it was the best hour of the year. And so that keeps me going to share my message, because if I reach just one person today, if I help just one person today, it's all been so worth it.
Absolutely. I mean, I understand my platform is to do what I can do to return respect, honor, and dignity to the planet, and just help people live their fullest life, which is why I love doing Scott Schilling Speaks. The show's not really about me. It's all about the guests that come on and their stories and the successes they have had, and many times to celebrate those successes, because like you say, when you're in the middle of it, you don't necessarily see it. And when you're outside of it, you go, how the heck did that happen? And so, like you say, you don't understand it. So it's an amazing, you've got obviously a very powerful, very impactful story. And so are there other tidbits from the book that we need to make sure everybody knows about here so that they take the action to go get the book?
Well, I will say along my journey, and especially when I get into the 7 Promises of Courage, I have several pages in each of those sections that's kind of like a workbook style, because, oftentimes it's kind of like driving a car. We may have a car in our blind spot and we don't know until we're ready to change lanes. And so the thing about fear and uncertainty and using courage is, facing the reality. And how you do that is, number one, you get aware. So you get aware within yourself first of, okay, what is this pattern? What is happening? And get really clean with yourself about, why am I tolerating this? Is this serving me? And is this really taking me where I want to go? And so I have some worksheet pieces of that, just to help people have a framework to kind of start looking at their own self. And then once you face that reality, how do you release those fears? It was really hard for me. Like, these were people that I loved,
Certainly.
and I know when I leave, I still have family members there that can't speak to me. And so all these relationships that I had built, how do I release those fears, knowing when I step on this other side, a lot of these people may not go with me? But what I also found out is, once I stepped on that other side, I didn't tell people about it. I didn't go to anybody. I simply ran an ad in the local newspaper, and I started sharing with former members, and 250 people showed up that I hadn't seen for years.
Wow.
And what they found was that they just thought that their family wasn't good enough. But what they found is everybody's story was exactly the same, right? Because it's a pattern that was just duplicated and duplicated and duplicated. And so I was able to connect, emails, phone numbers, Facebook, with 250 former members that I had not seen for years. And so that's the power of releasing that fear, and being in ownership of your life and directing exactly where you want to go. It may not be perfect, and it gets really, really messy, but on the other side of that is where you live with power. And so those worksheets take you through that kind of there's a self-assessment in there, and there's a worksheet information to help you dive just a little bit deeper. Because if you can just get started, you can start moving things. And sometimes it's just making a decision to do something different that things start lining up in your favor. And one other point I just wanted to make, 9/11, I mentioned, was my last wake-up call. My daughter was 5 years old, and things were getting hot on our trail. From 9/11, that final wake-up call, to March, which was less than 6 months, I was mentally free from that place and physically out of there. So that's the power of making a decision that I wanted to mention.
Well, decision comes from the Latin decidere, or to cut off, cut off one path in favor of another path. So obviously took a lot of courage and true bravery to make that decision, to do that. But how different is your life today that you made that decision?
It's totally different. I don't have, I don't have those thoughts. It's so weird. I was telling someone the other day, I was like, what's really weird that I noticed, like, almost immediately, is I used to have these nightmares that these people were separating me from my family, and that they were physically attacking us because, in their sense of the word, we weren't free from, these bad influences. And the minute that I made that decision and was physically and mentally out of there, I've never had one dream like that. Matter of fact, the few dreams that I've had has been with me, using my voice and letting them know that, their time is up and I'm on to them. And it's really interesting, because when you can truly go from being an extreme victim where you can't use your voice because your opinion doesn't matter, or they don't want to hear your opinion, to where you have a voice, it was a huge shift for me. But that was one of the first things that I remembered. I was like, wow, that was a crazy great dream. I was like up in their face, and so it truly transcended who I was, not only in my my thoughts and my actions, but it was represented in my dreams. And I thought, wow, what, what a miracle. What a true miracle.
Absolutely a miracle. No doubt about that fact. Well, uh, who would have thought that time flies this fast? So, so we're going to wrap things up here, but I want to make sure that everybody knows how to get a hold of your book and get a hold of you to get a little bit of your courage if they need it.
Yeah, so I'm out on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm Kym with the Y, Kym Glass. Would love to connect with you, learn more about you and your business and how I can help you and who's in my mental Rolodex that needs to know you. I love that. And then my book is out on Amazon.com. And I also do autographing. I've done it for events where I personally autograph them and put them in the mail for the event. And so whether you're an Amazon.com purchaser, or if you want a little personalized book for you or your friends or family, I offer that as well. My email address is Kym, Kym, at kymglass.com. And my website is kymglass.com, and it has all of my information. And I have a contact button there. You're welcome to send me any message. Just thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for your time and sharing your story, having the courage to do it and to be there for so many. Really appreciate you joining me here on Scott Schilling Speaks. And so we're going to wrap it up for today. Everybody, make sure that you come back next show, because we always have amazing guests just like Kym. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.